What do you get when a London raised American South African and a New York raised Moroccan meet on the interwebs and become instant soul sisters? One of them, an Ayurvedic practitioner and transformation coach, and the other, a Conspire breathwork coach and Reiki master teacher. Both obsessed with wellness, family, entrepreneurship, relationships, and the magic of human expansion and growth. You get a whole convo. We truly believe that with an open heart, focused mind, and energy receptive to the possibilities, your wellness journey can guide you to a life that exceeds your wildest dreams. Welcome to our podcast. We're Ella and Iman, and we are so happy you're here. Come vibe with us as we explore the wholeness of being through the lens of wellness. Welcome to a whole convo with Ella and Iman. Hi, Iman.
Woohoo.
So good
Hi,
to see
gorgeous.
you. Now, Iman, I'm really excited about today's episode. Please tell everyone who's listening in, watching in, what we are talking about today.
We are diving into how ancient medicine is the root of all healing, in
Oh,
my humble opinion, and
oh.
the magic of Ayurveda.
Now this sounds sensational. Sensational. So, can we start with the first bit? Ancient medicine is the root of all healing. What do you mean,
Yeah.
Iman?
My roots are Moroccan, North African, tribal. I grew up just a few years with my grandma because my grandmother lived for the majority of her life in Morocco and also in Germany. But there was a time in her life that she moved to New York City and stayed with my family here in the house, and we shared a room. She was my
Wow. Oh,
roommate,
that's
and it
so
was so cute.
sweet.
She's, I mean, there are no words. She's just like the most beautiful spirit, the most gorgeous human being inside and out. This is my mom's mom, just a goddess of a matriarch. And I remember as a little kid, being 8, 9, 10 years old and ha her having, doing her little concoctions in the kitchen
What do you mean?
literally like anything and everything. So, you have a cold, you have, a sore throat, the ancient ways of healing, literally, right? They come from our tribal ways. Like that when you think back at like the root of our humanity, it's
Mm,
all nature.
mm,
Humankind is embedded in nature. And so that's why I think the ancient medicine and ancient ways are always going to be the root of all healing,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
whether it's physical, emotional, energetic, mental, because we come from the essence of nature.
You
And
know,
so, go
sorry to
ahead.
interrupt you. You just reminded me of something I just said to a client this morning about we have forgotten in many ways because we live so technologically advanced as human beings. We've forgotten that we are animals
Yeah,
and that nature is running through us
it
because
was.
we think that we have evolved past that.
Exactly. And I think you have such a great point. I think because of the way we live now as a human species and as a society, the way to evolve, right? Talking about evolution, which is literally rooted in nature, but now in today's time, evolution is like evolving to more things, more money, more success, more free, all of those things, right? More freedom, more things for our family and loved ones, which of course, they have a place and they're extremely important, but evolution does not hold the same, essence as it does today as it did back then. Like
Mhm.
evolution was about like connecting more to nature, connecting more to spirit, having vitality and health be connected 100% to what Mother Earth can provide for us.
Mhm.
And I think, when we look back at those times, at those ancient times, I would be surprised if there were any diseases that we're suffering with as a human species today. When you think about all the chronic illnesses and all the chronic, um, you know, diseases that are happening, they are because of the way the nature and Mother Earth evolved to a lesser quality. In the
Mm.
ancient times, because we were so much more connected and rooted to nature, there was a love there. There was a genuine care and love for our land, for our people, for our soil, for our trees. So it was a default. It was by default that nature cared back for us because we cared
Mm.
for it. And
That's
that's where,
That's such an interesting point because it is we've convinced ourselves that that superior thinking is something that is away from nature and is something that is
right,
smarter than nature somehow.
right.
But you're reminding us that actually that's not necessarily the case. And by doing that, we're missing out from the benefits of being aligned. Like, simple thing, living with the seasons, living according to the seasons, and
Yes.
changing our behaviors in alignment with that.
And one of the principal, foundational principles of Ayurveda is living with season, is following nature's rhythms. And we'll get into, a little bit more with the Ayurveda, but the ancient medicine, why I'm so passionate about it and why I'm so fascinated by it, even as a little kid, is because it seems like the most natural way
Mm,
for our being to exist on this planet. So when you think about like resistance or struggle or stress, you'll never think about nature. You think about
mm,
like the man-made things, like
yes.
the things that stress people out the most is, you know, work, finances, maybe family.
Deadlines,
Say that again.
deadlines.
Deadlines, exactly. Pressure, right? Demands, technology. The computer, and this is the thing,
Yeah.
even in that breath of saying that, you're like, but there's so much good. There's so much advancement. And I
Mm,
think what we struggle with the most as a human species is balance in life. It's not to totally eradicate everything
mm,
that maybe like the opposite of nature, but it is more to include nature in everything we do, to think about like what is the natural way of being. Like it's not natural for us to spend 7 to 10 hours with a little bit of a little break on a computer screen, but literally 99.9% of work these days is being done that way. And so
mm,
the stress on the eyes, just everything are on a cellular level, we're
yeah.
doing a lot more damage to ourselves
Mm.
when we aren't living in a way that is like more natural.
And I love you using the word balance because I prefer the word harmony
I love
only
that.
because I think a lot of people believe that balance is an equal thing. You're trying
50-50.
to,
Yeah,
yeah. And
totally.
it's not that, is it? We're not trying to get
No.
50-50. We're trying to find the harmony because sometimes there will be seasons where more work is required and rest is then not as put forward or it's not in the forefront, and then there will be seasons where that's kind of looks like this and there's more rest required and less work time is taken in our lives. We'll be more in nature, we'll be more connected. Summertime
Yes,
is a great example. We'll be outdoors more when the weather's more pleasant than in the
totally.
winter time. And so it's finding that harmony, but honoring and listening to that. Because what you've said, oh, it gets me so excited about the idea that we aren't trying to rubbish these amazing progression we've made as human beings. It's facilitating us even being able to have this whole convo, you know?
Exactly.
And so there's a lot of love and appreciation and reverence, but I think it's respecting what we have
I literally was just
crafted,
gonna say the word respect when you said it.
that we are in tune. So, it's that respecting what we have created whilst respecting our needs as animals and human beings to be connected more in nature, to be connected more with our inhabitants of the earth, as opposed to
Yeah.
the earth being, I was going to say a rude word, I'm not going to say it, as
Oh,
opposed to,
what? Say it.
I suppose the earth being our bitch.
Oh, yeah. Totally.
Because it kind of
Totally disregarding what it actually provides for us, using it instead of nurturing it, thinking it's
mm,
only a one-way street here.
yes.
Oh, people.
Yes, and that's another place where the harmony comes in, being living harmoniously with this abundant, infinite natural resource that the ecosystem of which we are a part when we remember the importance of being connected.
Love that, Ella. Symbiotic relationship between
Yes.
the human being and Mother Earth could like literally could be so magical and so powerful. And it is for so many of us that honor it and respect that, like you said. And I think that's why when it comes to healing, and why I was even talking about medicine and healing, there's so many aspects to healing, and I know you agree with this as well. Like healing is not a linear journey. It's not like about an end result. It's not about fixing something. But as a human species, there are so many layers
Mm,
and phases and eras of our life that do require us to be a little bit more nurturing, especially if we went through any kind of hardship or trauma or any kind of situation that has damaged our system, whether
mm-hmm,
it's the nervous system or specific organ system, whatever it is as a whole, right? Speaking about a whole combo, whatever it is that may have affected us as a whole
mm,
creates that stress and damage, I firmly believe that 100% of that healing could be entirely related to us being more connected to nature. So, food, herbs, sunlight, oxygen, air, water, connecting our hands, our skin to the ground, you
yeah.
know, all of those things are like the foundation. And of course, then again, respecting and honoring the advancement of our beautiful intellect and our beautiful intelligence as a human being and what we've created in this time with
Mm.
added things that are quote unquote man-made, but also extremely beneficial. We can then add and supplement with that.
Oh,
Literally,
Lord.
keyword supplement with it, not
Hmm.
replace it.
Yes, so important. So important, Iman. And recognizing, being aware, because I think there's a disconnection as we disconnect, or well, I would say overconnect in our minds. That's the how I view it's an overconnection and an overdominance of thought, logic, reasoning,
Totally.
neglecting other things. And there's a whole convo on that, but let's
Whole other conversation.
there really is.
I freaking love you.
I love you, girl. So you really have noticed that as part of your experience and part of your journey in reconnecting to yourself, the role that nature's had. Because you said, I want to go back to something you said. You mentioned when we think of things that stress us, nature is never one of them. Can you speak more to that?
Yeah, like ah man, it's raining today. Like, ah, so annoyed it's raining. Like,
Well,
okay,
I don't know. I think some people do think that.
that's what I'm saying. That's like the depth of like what stress
Oh,
like and I'm not of course talking about like natural disasters. Like people are going to be stressed by a hurricane. I'm not speaking of that. I'm talking about the everyday to day things and activities. Like when you think back of the last like 3 months, let's say, let's keep it simple. When you think back of the last 90 days of your life, and you think if we wrote down every stressor and everything that dysregulated our nervous system, we're not gonna be like the sunset too early.
oh my
We're
goodness.
not gonna be like, the tree was looking at me funny.
It was so
Like,
green and full of blossom.
yeah, like how rude for that tree to grow.
Look all pretty with those colors.
You know? Like, look at that weeping willow all up in my face.
All dangling.
know, we're like, oh my God, like, rent, my like work, I'm burnt out, I'm not sleeping well, I have too much on my mind, I'm overthinking, I have a problem that I need to solve, and I don't like know even how to go about it. I don't even know where to begin.
Mm,
That's what I mean. It's like here's the perfect example. And I say this like genuinely and deeply with so much awareness and respect and love for those who were extremely impacted negatively by COVID. And I know that there's so many people who suffered and even passed away during that time. And it was a very chaotic, very scary, very sad time. People got sick. Some of them died. It was crazy. In that same breath, I don't even want to say but, and in addition to all that darkness and chaos and sadness and confusion and fear, there was so much beauty because we gave Mother Earth a break.
mm-hmm.
Some of the most beautiful things that happened during COVID are entirely related to us connecting with nature more, and two, giving a break to Mother Earth, less pollution, less like less littering, less garbage, less people, less human beings out there destroying, not respecting
Mm.
Mother Earth. Literally what we were just talking about, giving that respect, existing in a symbiotic relationship with Mother Nature does not exist for most people, unfortunately. And what COVID forced a lot of people to do
Mm.
is to sit still,
And
damn
take
it,
a breath.
take a breath. Exactly. Take a breath, take a beat, pause. I started my whole like this obsession that I have with walking in nature, I always loved it, right? I always loved being outside. I'm a 90s kid. I was born in 85. Like that we didn't have social media and phones and the internet. Like we were outside with our friends, playing tag, playing hide and seek, causing a little ruckus in the neighborhood and doing little,
A little
rebellious
drama to that.
add a little drama, Papa Roan, as Papa Roan would say. Um, but like I didn't do much of it in my 20s and 30s, even though I loved it. But COVID reminded me of all the things that I loved, and I started doing them. Why? Because I had more time.
Yes.
I had less stress because of,
Stress. Yeah.
yeah, right? It
And
was almost
everyone
like
was doing it at the same time.
at this, and it wasn't like you didn't feel guilty for taking a break
I
because
think
that's
that's that's
my
that's a big
trauma,
part
right?
of it. Yeah. Yeah.
A huge part. You didn't feel bad for not going into work, and you didn't feel bad about staying home. I cooked more. My husband and I like we did so much in the house. We like redid. A lot of people, share these things, but the thing that I love the most about COVID is I was outside more, even
Mm.
though you weren't like allowed to
Allowed.
go. I was in the park. I went in the park. I wore my mask. I started my walking. I would walk 45 minutes to 2 hours a day sometimes in the park. And it literally changed my being on a cellular level. I wish it didn't have to be COVID that did that, right? It
Mm.
wasn't like this crazy, scary pandemic that forced human beings to take a freaking break and
And
not be stressed about the things that we stress about all the time, and to be outside more and to cook more at home. But this is the society we live in. And as you know, Ella, I'm not a complainer. And I'm not a pessimist, so this is not like saying, I wish the world was different. Look, the world is what it is. It is beautiful. It is magnificent. It is fascinating in all its ways. However, we do, I feel, have to take a more conscious
mm.
and present role, active role in our life to connect with nature more and to connect with the ancient ways more. And that's our duty to do that.
And to even have that awareness that we've moved away from that experience or moved away from that um the ritual, the ceremony of it, the
Oh, I
the
just got chills.
you
Literally,
know.
ritual and ceremony are some of the most common words I use with my clients. When we're creating a habit, I always say make it your own kind of ritual. Make it a ceremony, the self-care. Make it a ritual, the connecting to nature, walking outside. It
Mm.
will, because it elevates our life by giving it that much power. And when we look back, like speaking about ancient medicine, everything was ceremonial.
Exactly. And that ritualistic reverence for the actions in that time, no matter how simple they are, no matter how, basic they may be perceived by today's standards, it's that space to honor and to take it seriously. I love
You
that.
nailed it, baby girl.
I love this. So this is the connection, the reminder that we all have a lineage to these experiences, no matter where our background is, no matter how we come to be in the
Exactly.
place that we are. This is
Yes.
our
Yes.
our history, our legacy, our biological and cultural legacy that's been passed down.
I love that you brought that up because despite of our roots, despite our background, our ethnicity, our race, our culture, the one we all have in common
Mm-hmm.
is human beings,
Being.
spirits and souls in flesh, walking around this earth, coming from the same essence.
Absolutely. Amen to that. Amen. So when we reconnect with this remembrance, when we reconnect with this, it's like reigniting something in our DNA that's latent until we do.
Totally.
Then we open up a whole new DNA possibility, a whole new cellular function, efficiency, all of the things. And
Yes.
and that's a whole convo in itself.
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely another episode.
So I'm inviting you now to then you say and the magic of Ayurveda in relation to this awareness that the ancient ways are the root of all healing. Can you bring us in with that then, please, Aman?
Yes, of course. So the magic of Ayurveda to me is so interconnected with this topic because number one, Ayurveda is an ancient medicine, one of the oldest, if not the oldest, period. Rooted in India over 5,000 years ago. A lot of traditional Chinese medicine was, rooted from that as well. And that power of the elemental magic of how we are basically microcosms of the universe, and just how everything is so interconnected, right? How the space, the air, the ground, the earth, the fire, the water, all those elements in nature we are comprised of. That is
Mm,
the principle of Ayurveda, is that we are this combination in harmony, like you say, in a certain ratio of all these elements, right? Fire, earth, water, air, space. Those are the five elements. And then they comprise these three doshas, the Vata, Pitta, Kapha. And those doshas live within our being and the basically goal, if you will, of vitality and longevity and well-being and wholeness, as I like to say, is dependent directly on the harmony of these
mm,
doshas. Now, a lot of people will hear the balance of these doshas, which is exactly right. But as we said earlier, how synonymous balance and harmony are, especially when you understand this kind of stuff. Balance is not a 50-50 thing.
mhm.
Balance is like what is required. Sometimes in us, we need more pitta. We need that
Just stoke
fire. We
that
need that
fire.
yeah. We need
Yeah.
that engine going. Kapha's not going to do it for us. Kapha's not going to do it when we need to get something done right now with passion and fire and competitiveness and electricity and
Get
and
it going,
focus.
girl.
Yeah, focus, right? Every dosha, every element plays a role in our life and in our body and in our mind and in every aspect of our being. It plays a role. And so the magic of Ayurveda for me is really about understanding what that looks like for every single individual. and it's different for every single one. And Ayurveda is actually rooted in that. It's rooted in the individuality and the different requirements of every single being for these elements to live in balance and in harmony in them.
Specifically according to how their composition, their particular expression of the macrocosm in that microcosm.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And my fascination to Ayurveda really, and I think we spoke about this, I'm sure in the previous episodes for sure, and I'm sure it'll always be spoken about when it comes up like this. But my fascination with it, I'll be honest, is because of how Ayurveda is rooted in the principles of nature.
Okay.
That is what really called me out to it in its connection to Ayurveda, how it is literally rooted in all of what nature is comprised of. In the awareness of consciousness was another big aspect for me. So, for those who are listening or watching, I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with the concept of consciousness. But when I first heard about it in this way in relation to Ayurveda, I've heard about it before in other ways. It really allowed me to understand the power I have as a human being and
Mm.
how little everything else mattered. Like the way I see consciousness now is the ability for my inner intelligence to be in total bliss and love and neutrality, no matter what's happening around me, no matter what's happening in the world. And that was a big thing for me. And again, when you look back at, talking about ancient medicine and ancient times, because we did as a human species think so much more of Mother Nature, there was so much more respect and adoration and love. It was a deeper consciousness
You know,
because there weren't distractions. They weren't like sometimes these things, let's say, things that are happening in the world can seem so big for us when we're in it, right? When we're like in the middle of it, they can seem like such a big problem. But when you look at the consciousness of the whole world, the whole universe, that's where the true power lies, that inner intelligence.
that's so beautiful. And you know what struck me as you were speaking about consciousness? Particularly in relation to you saying that influence that you have over your own life. It feels like it's such an important gift that comes along with this ancient wisdom. Because what was coming to my mind is somewhere along the line, it feels like other influence, again, man-made influences. So we're talking about it in this day and age in relation to technology and how that's directed our attention away from certain understandings or reconnections or being whole in our human experience.
Right.
And I feel like ancient times, the rise of religion and the rise of that externalization and
Mm,
reverence to an external source in terms of how we feel about the power that we have over our lives and how we feel about our ability to direct our lives was drawing that focus away from that internal personal power that we have. So it's not like we're not getting into a discussion about religion. That's a whole convo, but it's an example of time specific way that we as a human race were tempted away from nature and
yes.
externalizing our focus and externalizing our beliefs about what was important and what would enhance our lives or not. And that was very much the way it was delivered was very much a man-made experience
A
because
100%. Because where did it come from? Where was it rooted from? Power, control, greed, colonization, right? All those takeovers that you're talking about with land and religion and all that came from man, the patriarch, wanting more control, wanting
she
more
said she
power.
said she nearly said it, the patriarchy.
Yeah. Literally eradicating our ancient roots. our essence, right? Our inner intelligence and going into leading people to a way of this is the way it needs to be. And if you
Absolutely.
don't do it this way, you're, banished. You're
Yeah,
killed.
you're
You're
out of
gone.
favor.
You're out.
Yeah, things won't go well for you. Your life is compromised. So there is always as life, the duality, whole convo about that, but
Right.
the duality where we have that opportunity to understand our power and our sovereignty and our ability to make choices aligned with our natural experience as human beings, and then the externalized things that are trying to distract us or trying to
Right.
take away our autonomy and make us believe that in order to fit in, to function well in the system, that we have to give all of it over.
Exactly.
But there is a harmony. There is a
Right.
space to be found where we can work and enjoy and take the benefits and contribute to the benefits of the externalized experience, but not at the expense of who we are.
Love it. Exactly. And I think I'll just say one last thing just about Ayurveda, because obviously this could be like a 20-hour episode. But just one of my favorite things as a practitioner and why I decided to specialize in Ayurveda and integrative medicine, but just specifically about Ayurveda, when I do work with clients, it's such a beautiful experience for me to look at them and value them and honor them in their unique composition,
Mm.
in their elemental nature. Like I love, because my past is in fitness and nutrition and personal training. I did have conversations with clients that did obviously include, well-being and plans and programs and what adjustments, but with Ayurveda and being an Ayurvedic practitioner, it is such a beautiful thing for me to look at this person in such a holistic way. Literally, WHOLE-istic way, right? Like their wholeness of being, the wholeness of self. So not only their doshas and what dosha diets may be best for them and what vegetables are best suited, because that's the beauty of Ayurveda. It's not about this is healthy, this is unhealthy. It's what's correct for your current state of elemental harmony. What is the current state of your doshas? What's
Nice.
Yeah, it's incredible. What's out of balance and what is needed more of? What do we need to give you more of? What do we need to take away a little bit? What do we need to balance? What do we need to bring into harmony? So it looks at everything from digestion to food, the state of mind, the mental capacity, consciousness, obviously, everything, behaviors, the root causes of the imbalance is what we look at in Ayurveda. So that for me is magical.
I love that. And that connects back into the nature of the person and the harmony of the person and the ancient legacies that have been passed down. What a perfect, complete circle to this episode. Yeah,
Love it.
I'm going to give it love because
Yay!
it's just beautiful and perfect. Iman, thank you so much for bringing that reminder and the important, like activating those thoughts. Actually, yeah, what
Right.
difference does me being in nature? And actually, yeah, I'm never stressed with nature. I'm looking out of my window right now and it's just beautiful sunshine.
Yeah, I'm looking out at my window too. And sometimes, like, when you're like, sometimes I'm like walking around the house or like I'm in deep thought about something, right? The thing, right, that we say is not even that big. And you just take a moment to look outside. Maybe there's a bird there, or you just see that leaf, or you see that tree. And it really does bring so much calm to me anyway. And so it's like, imagine magnifying that. Like, it's just beautiful. So I hope this episode has ignited, our listeners' thoughts and imagination and perspective on reconnecting with nature, reconnecting with their essence and their ancient ways, a whole way of living as a human being here.
Get some of that pitta going to get that into action. And if there was one thing, one parting thought that you would like to offer people who are watching in, listening in, about the importance of that ancient healing in and nature, what would that be?
I would probably say just really taking a conscious role to thinking about it more, just having it be part of life more. I feel like with most of society, it's something that doesn't really play a primary or a lead role in our life, being connected to nature. But if just thinking about it more, like thinking back at like what actually made you feel good, being out in the park, being out in the sun, just all the things that actually elevate our being, elevate our health, elevate our vitality. I think it's just been in the back burner. It's just like not something we consciously think about. We're too busy trying to get things done. It's all
Mm.
good, but just bring it in the thought process a bit more, I would say.
I love that. Thank you so much, Iman. This has been a beautiful episode to hear your passion and your love for all the things ancient healing wisdom and Ayurveda. And thank you everyone for being with us for this whole convo. So before we go, it's that time of the month where we are celebrating ourselves with our whole convo celebrations. Now,
Yes.
Iman, do you want to remind us what this celebration time is all about?
Yes, yes, yes. Well, it's our tradition now, right? It's our new official A Whole Convo podcast tradition where every single month we basically jump into a imaginary time machine and go way, way back, as far back as we want, to remember something that we did that was iconic, epic, powerful, unreal, miraculous, badass, all the things. And like, remember that part of us. Remember that person who did that. So that's what we love to do here at A Whole Convo. We like to hear yours as well. So definitely share with us. But we are going to kick it off with Ella's June celebration.
Oh, thank you. So, mine, this is something that you reminded me of when we were talking. Mine is to go back into time. So, I must have been like late just before like 10, 11, 12, 13, that sort of time. And I was dancing and we were doing like lots of exams during that period of time. So I remember we were having them like two, three a year where we were doing them. And my favorite thing, it sounds so funny, but like disco dancing. And I used to get blue ribbons. So you'd get like a pass, commended, highly commended, distinction. And then on top of that was the blue ribbon. So that was
Wow. Is that the highest?
the highest of the high. It was almost like you've got 100% on this. And they used to put this beautiful little blue shiny sticker on the certificate to say
Oh,
that you'd got a blue ribbon. And I remember I went through a period of about 5 or 6 exams where I kept getting my blue ribbons, and it was just the best ever. The best.
oh my goodness. So tell me a little bit more about, well, when did you get into dance then?
Oh, I started dancing when I was about 4.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
at 4 years old dancing?
Yeah, so I did my tap, my modern, ballet and disco dance. And I had all these tap shoes and I loved my tap shoes, but I won't go into why, but I don't have them anymore. And I
Oh
had about
no.
5 or 6 different pairs of tap shoes and I was just obsessed. Anyway, so yeah, I used to do dancing. We used to do shows every year. I did competitions and we did medal exams as well. So yeah,
Oh, I love
I
it.
love that.
Celebrating you.
Yay! It
Oh,
was so much fun. It was
little
so
Ella
much
and the
fun.
blue ribbons dancing. Well, that just, I mean, I gotta say, I'm not surprised because I've seen your dance moves, girl. And I'm impressed. So I love that. First of all, just quick side note, I was obsessed with tap dancing when I was a kid, but I never got into
Really?
it. I never did it, but we found these tap shoes at a thrift store once that might, because that was like our thing. My dad and my sister and I would always go to thrift stores. We are thrifters. Like we love the thrift shops. Anywhere in the world, I have to go to a thrift store. But anyway, we go to this thrift store here at home in New York. And I was young. I was maybe like 9 years old. And we find these tap shoes. And of course, like my dad buys them for me. And he knew I was like obsessed, but literally I was in a million other things. I was involved in so many sports. As a kid, I guess there was no focus or time for tap dancing, but it fascinated me. Just the fact that you can make the music and the sounds with your feet. And it always looked so cute. So I love that you were obsessed with it too.
It was my favorite because I remember you used to graduate from having like the fixed taps on your shoes to teletones. And the teletones were ones that you could adjust for the amount of vibration and amount of reverb that it would have. And it was just, oh my God, obsessed. Yeah.
Next level tap dancing.
Oh my God,
Love
obsessed,
that.
obsessed. So thank you. I want to hear yours,
Yeah. And
Imran.
you know what? We're going to actually jump kind of into the same era because what I'm going to share for my June celebration, I was 11 years old and I got my black belt in Taekwondo second dan at age 11. And my second I
Wow.
started Taekwondo, I believe I was around 9 years old. And it was so incredible. Like when I look back now, the way we progressed through the belts, I don't know if you know a little bit about Taekwondo, but you start at white belt.
Yes.
That's the first one. And then it's yellow, purple, brown, black. And there's Dan's. Dan's just means like the level or like the category of that belt. And we had like a strength test. We had to do push-ups, Ella, on our knuckles. Can you imagine?
How many did you have to do?
I think it was like 50 or 100. I gotta say, I was better at push-ups back then than I am today.
Little baby Iman on her
Little baby knuckles.
knuckles.
We had to do the strength. We had to punch the wooden block.
Like
Yeah.
break it. Oh no way.
And then of course the forms. We had to go through
Yes.
all the forms. So that's what I want to celebrate for this month's
I
celebration.
celebrating that with you, girl. That I mean, that must have been the cutest thing with your little gi on and your little belt. Did they do a
Got my
ceremony
white
to give you
uniform.
it?
Say that again.
Did they do a ceremony when they presented you with the belt?
Yes, it's a whole ceremony. All the parents are there, all the students are there. And oh, Ella, the craziest part, the trophy that you get when you get to black belt, it's literally the size of you. Like it was this tall. It's huge.
Bless you.
It's huge. I have no idea where that trophy is. Do not ask me. But I have a very strong feeling that my mother got rid of them because it was just,
Too much space.
too much space. And she's probably like, they have their little diploma, they have their certificate because they give you this like really large laminated certificate. And the picture on the certificate is the picture of you with your trophy just standing there. That
That
I
is too
have.
cute.
That I have.
And you still have the black belt?
So no, I don't know where the black belt
Oh,
went. No, I still have it as far as like recognition goes
no,
because you
but the
never lose it.
physical belt.
Oh, the physical belt, girl. No, the uniforms have been donated. Okay, let me tell you something about Moroccan mothers. They will donate and give everything away if you are no longer using it,
Oh,
even if
bless.
it has sentimental value. But I will say this. Growing up, I wasn't really like as far as the belts go, it wasn't like I wanted to keep them. If I wanted to keep them, my mom would have kept them. It was just like you reach that phase, you're like, I'm a black belt. I don't need a belt. You're just, I have my certificate. I wasn't keeping the belts. There are some things I like to keep, but that wasn't one of them. So yay, celebrating.
I love this celebration.
Woo,
Get it, Iman. This is so wonderful. We're both holding a candle for our younger girl selves.
Yes, yes. And that's why we started this celebration and tradition, right? It's like, it's so easy to forget, especially as you
Mhm.
age and you get older and you're just so consumed with the everyday things you need to do. And don't get me wrong, we're still doing some epic, miraculous things, girl. And it's beautiful. And we have a lot to celebrate in our recent years. But I think we started this tradition because I think it is the most forgotten stuff is back when, then. Like back in the day, those little things that maybe just seem like they weren't that big a deal. So we want to bring them back. So we hope you are celebrating yours with us. Share them with us in the comments if you're watching or if you're listening. There's a comment section too, right? On the podcast.
Absolutely.
We want to celebrate you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. This has been a whole convo with Ella and Iman.
Until next time.
That is a wrap on this week's convo. We had a blast talking to you.
Thank you for sharing your time, hearts, and minds with us.
We hope this episode left you thinking, feeling, and maybe even breathing a little deeper. If it moved something in you, please share it, text it to a friend, or just sit with it.
Remember, the power of change can start with the simplest convo.
And if you have any comments or thoughts you'd like to share with us, please feel free to do so. We'd love to connect with you. Don't forget to subscribe to our show so you never miss a moment of the magic. And if you're curious about any of our services and offerings, check out the show notes for all the links and goodies. We're so grateful you're on this journey with us. Until next time,
Stay rooted, stay whole.